Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special pre-season video. Thank you for joining, and I've got with me a special guest. It's Paul Baker, Bakes, former champ and one of the original FFUKers. Welcome, Bakes. Thanks for joining us.
Not at all. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show. Very glad to be here.
Excellent. Okay, so we've got a busy one this evening. We are going to go through. Well, let's get a little slide deck up and tell you what we're going to go through. So we're going to go through the changes in FPL this season with a particular emphasis on DEFCON because I think that's something that people are really interested in. We're also going to talk about the changes we've got for FFUK this season. We're going to have a chat about Salah versus Haaland, and if we've got time, we're going to have a Q&A. So I'm sure we will have time. So if you've got any questions and you're watching, please get involved and use the live chat and give us a question, and we'll try and get through them. So yeah, let's crack on, Bakes, and talk about the major changes to the game this season. So I think there are a couple of additional ones in addition to this that really don't make a difference, but these are the 5 big ones, and I feel like it's bigger changes than we've ever had before, really. Fairly major stuff, maybe since the chips came in. This is definitely the biggest change. So we've got these defensive contribution points that we're definitely going to discuss. Revised assists we'll touch on. There's some additional chips that we'll also mention. We'll quickly discuss the bonus point system changes. There's only a couple of those, and there's some additional African Cup of Nations transfers that we'll get your thoughts on as well. But we'll get straight into it, and the DEFCON points are maybe the biggest talking point. Bake's going to obviously come to you. First of all, just an overview. What's your thoughts on DEFCON as an introduction this season?
I think it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The FPL world has been crying out for years for a way to get some of those players into the game that you just would never consider year in, year out. Your defensive midfielders, centre backs, just because there just weren't the ways for them to accrue points in the past. DEFCON, I think, the way we're all looking at it right now, could potentially solve that, widening the player pool of players we can consider for our teams. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well overdue, and as you say, if it just means that more players are picks, then that's a winner, because that makes our decision all that bit harder. So yeah, this is a sort of this is just off the FPL site. You guys have probably all had a read of that, I'm sure, already. But yeah, so I'm not going to sort of read through everything. But so we've got some tasty tables that I want to look at. But essentially, it's about CBI defensive actions through a game, which are defensive contribution points, and a defender has to make 10 of them, and a midfielder has to make 12 of them. But let's look at how that actually affects the game. So these are stats from last season. They're from FF Scout, from the members area. And this is a table organised by highest DEFCON points per game last season. And straight away, there's an interesting name at the top there that I don't think many people are probably considering. But if he's going to start the season, and he's going to get 1.5 extra points a game than every other player on the pitch. Most other players in the game. Is he worth considering? So, yeah, what are your first thoughts when you see that table?
I mean, straight away, well, Casemiro's at the top. I'm not going to be picking Casemiro. After that, it's interesting that you see quite a lot of the teams that ended up getting relegated near the top. You've got 2 Southampton players right near the top. You've got, Ipswich players. You've got a couple of Leicester players featuring on that list. So straight away, that makes me think that there are certain types of players that are going to accrue these points. So players playing for weaker teams against stronger teams. So so again, that gives us something interesting to think about. Do we leave a player out just because he's playing against a stronger team? Or actually, maybe we play him. If he can hoover up a couple of DEFCON points, maybe that makes the difference in terms of our decision-making. And then there's a couple of names here that, that people have been talking about in the FPL community that kind of scream out at you, don't they? The likes of Tarkowski for Everton and Anderson at Notts Forest, that you straight away you look at that and go, that makes these players really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it does, because they're just. I mean, the other thing is, I would say most of these players on this page are just not usually picks in any form. I mean, I like the fact that they've upped the price of Tarkowski and some of the Forest defenders who obviously feature very highly on here. I think that's important as well, because, as you say, maybe the skill this season is going to be finding the 4.0s and the 4.5s that regularly pick up these 2-point bonuses. And they're going to be, and we're looking at defenders there. This is a table by all positions. It really doesn't seem to affect forwards at all. I mean, we will get to some forwards, but it seems like it's a midfielder and a defender thing. That's the main thing. What have you sort of seen in terms of the DEFCON stuff? Have you found stats easy to come by, or is it kind of? Do you think it's a bit early for all that?
There's a lot of it about. I mean, you've got to go looking. I mean, the guys on the podcast, it's almost like they're almost talking about nothing else other than DEFCON. So there's a huge amount of content there. Fantasy Football Scout. I mean, there's this information from the members area, so you'd have to be a member to be able to locate it. But it's talked about in all the articles pretty much that are on Fantasy Football Scout. So a little bit of research. I think any FPL player can find out a lot of information about DEFCON and at least what people are saying based on previous seasons. We've got to be a little bit careful about that. This is all
this is just last season. Just last season. It's the only...
you get a few data points from some people looking at seasons before that. So, for example, Rodri, who didn't play last season, if you go back to the season before, DEFCON, absolute DEFCON monster, and definitely worth thinking about because he had gets attacking returns as well. But yeah, most of the stuff you see is about last season. But Tarkowski got loads of DEFCON points last season. Will he get them this season? We don't know. We assume that there's no guarantee, of course.
We don't know. So yeah, these are the forwards. We won't hang around on this slide for very long because the top two names are now mids. So I suppose the only question there is how do we assess that now as midfielders? Does that mean they're better picks as midfielders because they're going to get more?
Going Gakpo?
Yeah,
you think so? Yeah, because not only do they get the attacking points that they both got, particularly in DI because he's the penalty taker, I think, for Everton, isn't he?
Yeah.
Not only do they get the attacking points, and Gakpo's pretty much nailed on for that left side for Liverpool, you'd think, for the first few weeks, unless they sign anyone. But they're also, clearly still playing in those positions, getting DEFCON points as well. Now, Gakpo's hardly any, but Ndiaye, definitely something. He's definitely got to be a name that's on the short list, on the watch list, because he's the attacking potential, the penalties, and the defensive contribution points. He's got to be a name we're thinking about.
Yeah, I think actually when you look at the numbers, he's a way off Gakpo there. He's really Ndiaye is the outlier almost as a forward there, because when you watch him, actually, he's quite a defensive forward. He does scurry around a bit. Okay, so let's get to the sort of heart of the matter here, midfielders. And then we'll discuss defenders afterwards. But I think midfielders is fascinating because you look at the price of these of this table. I mean, what's the highest price there? 5.5. Yeah, 5.5 is the highest price there, midfielder. So we're talking budget midfielders here, and they're all at the top of the DEFCON midfielders table. And someone like Casemiro is way ahead. I mean, is that sample size? Is 24 games? No, it's enough. It's enough.
24 games, a lot of games. Yeah.
Reasonable. I think because he gets goals, he gets the odd goal and assist, and I think that's the magic we're looking for here, isn't it? Really, because although someone like Caicedo and Sangare and Bentancur do really well here, they're going to get the 2 points. Actually, what we're looking at is someone who can get those 2 points and get attacking returns, and that's why Anderson is very popular, and why perhaps Casemiro should be more popular.
Potentially, yeah. And like I say, I'll throw Rodri back in again as well because if.
Yeah, I think he's 6.5. I mean, so he's a whole million more. But yeah, and that's a good thing because again, he needs to be priced like that because he's ridiculously good. In terms of this DEFCON, I remember I used to play the Sky game and it was done on passing tiers and tackles, but he wouldn't get many tackles. But the passing tier every week, he was the more passes than any other player on the pitch, and it was almost like a cheat code having him because, as you say, he gets forward and he gets the attacking returns as well. So, and I guess the next question when it comes to this is: are you going to have one of these DEFCON midfielders, or are you going to have two?
I think. I mean, we'll come on to defenders, where I think that it's a more interesting conversation. I think with midfielders, maybe one. There's one midfielder that I'm going to pick because I think it'd be good for DEFCON. Possibly two, probably one. That fifth midfielder who's mostly going to sit on the bench.
Right. Okay.
And it's like, well, rather than pick midfielder A, I'll pick midfielder B, because midfielder B much more likely to get for the same price, much more likely to get the DEFCON points. So I'll have him instead of somebody else who, may or may not get the attacking returns we might otherwise be looking for. So somebody who's nailed on, like an Anderson, like a Caicedo, who you just know most weeks is going to get 4 points. That's a brilliant thing to have on your bench. There's an occasional option to use, but if they need to come off your bench, you know that they're going to get 4 rather than 2, and that's great. So
yeah, and I'm thinking about it now. We'll obviously come on to this, but I mean, 4 times 4 on your bench is 16 points. That's an okay bench boost.
That is an okay bench boost.
Yeah. And they're cheap players. They're the sort of players you could have on your bench. So maybe that's the way of looking at it as well. So definitely opens up those kind of ideas as well. But we'll get to the chips.
What about you, Chris? Was there any on that midfielders list that caught your eye?
I mean, Casemiro straight away, because he's an outlier and he's so far ahead of the rest. And I'm like you. I would never consider picking him, but I think we have to retrain our brains a little bit and be like, maybe he's an option. I am considering Anderson. I've got him in my first draft. But yeah, maybe he's an option. And certainly when Man United's fixtures seem to turn a bit, I wonder if he's going to end up playing very, very deep. But that might be great for that, And he is a threat on set pieces. I mean, he does tend to get on the end of things in off corners and stuff. So I suppose that's the one. I was interested to see Caicedo because I've played other formats where he's really good with tackles and things, and ball recoveries. So he's an option. He's just going to not get more than about half a dozen, probably not even that, 3 or 4 attacking returns all season. So the chances of landing on those are pretty slim, I would say. But let's get to defenders, because that's perhaps where the most interest is, because we're always looking for budget defenders. I seem to spend my life looking for budget defenders in FPL to enable something else around the team. So here we can see there's again, it's the teams. It's really the teams maybe more than the individuals who are of interest here, because straight away you see those Southampton ones at the top, and you see that there's a couple of Leicester ones right up there. Now, they're not teams you're ever going to back. And then you've got Bournemouth up there. I mean, Huijsen has some crazy stats. No wonder Madrid went in for him. Yeah. That he's above Tarkowski. And you wouldn't think Huijsen is a DEFCON monster, but absolutely was. I think this is where we this is going to be make or break this season, picking the right cheap defenders, I think, a promoted team for your 4.0 defender suddenly makes sense. Who plays centre back, because these are mostly centre backs here from those. That's a good point. Yeah, we haven't
teams. Yeah. So I mean, an Esteve or is it Rodon at Leeds? One of those guys. Centre back 4.0, very very likely to start and play every game. Kind of makes sense for that slot in your team. After that, I mean, you look at some. Some obvious picks that people are talking a lot about, the likes of Tarkowski and Murillo, Anderson at Fulham, Pinnock and Collins at Brentford. These are guys, Agbadou at Wolves. These are guys we've got to be thinking about.
I think so, yeah.
At least 4 billion, if not more, of these guys in terms of our defenders. And I think that it will be interesting how that balance now between picking attacking fullbacks for the attacking returns versus more defensive central players who pick up more of the DEFCON points. What's the balance of our defenses? It's really interesting.
Does it even mean? I mean, could you even consider a promoted defender as a starting defender in your squad? Is that possible now?
That's possible for sure.
I mean,
absolutely. Why not play Esteve every week? Why not? I mean,
exactly.
It's like we're up 4 points a week, almost certainly.
Yeah, I mean 3 points if he concedes a couple of goals.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But then there's the odd time he's going to get bonus or whatever, because obviously all these actions.
Yeah, so I mean, It depends. If you're playing 4 at the back, maybe. I think if you're playing 3, probably not. And I'll certainly be starting with 3. So I'll have one as my bench. It'll be my 5th player. That's the way I'll probably play it. But there's obviously many different ways to play the game, and there's definitely an argument. Yeah, put one of those players in your starting 11 for sure.
Okay, got a couple of other graphics here to look at, and this is about, speaking of 4 points or more, this is about which players hit 4 points or more the most last season with the DEFCON points adjusted. And I thought this one was interesting because, I mean, you can remove the Salah thing again, but after that, it's defensive actions all the way because, you know, Casemiro, Bruno was in there. I mean, Bruno's an interesting one because he's obviously both ends of the pitch. 55% of games he's getting four or more points last season, but maybe that's because of those attacking returns as well. Caicedo, who we formerly mentioned, 5 attacking returns. That's probably, as I say, what you can expect. Anderson, on the other hand, 8 attacking returns, and maybe there's improvement there because he's an up and coming player and he's a bit more attacking, a bit more licensed to go forward than Caicedo has. But yeah, if you just look at the names, it's defensive midfielder Adams, it's defensive midfielder Norgard, defensive midfielder Rice, McAllister, box to box. They're all DMs, which is really interesting. So that reliability. I mean, Palmer's in there, so you know they're keeping some good company. These DMs now, and you know 4 points times 38. Is 150, 160 points, whatever it is. That's pretty good for your cheap players. If your cheap players are getting that,
5.5 midfielder is giving you 160 points, you're laughing.
Exactly. So that and that's what I'm talking about. Is it really going to change the makeup of our squads? Can we look at a 4.0 defender as one of your main 3? Can we look at a 5.5 mid as one of your main 4? You know, that's what I'm kind of getting at. And I'm asking it because I'm wondering myself, you know, and when we get to Salah versus Haaland,
I think we're all wondering it, Chris. It's the
absolutely, yeah. But I just think some of these visualizations are a nice way, rather than looking at stats tables and things, sometimes of being able to see the answer, whatever that. We don't know. Maybe we don't know what the question is exactly, but you can kind of see there's stuff that's starting to come out here. Like, so when we look at the midfielders, it's DMs. When we look at the defenders, it's nearly all centre backs. Munoz is there, but because of his because of his attacking returns, I'm guessing. But Nico Williams, another one who jumps out, and I think will be popular early on with some of the hardcore kind of stats people, I think. But yeah, it's centre back. I mean, so there's Cucurella, Nico Williams, and Munoz, and then I think the rest are centre backs. And that's changing things because I think we've always really gone for the attacking returns, and actually they're so hard to predict with a defender. And now we can predict a bit more, maybe how, you know, maybe not a defender getting attacking return, but a defender getting the bonus of the
as a sensible place for us to start with our game week 1 teams, because we don't know who would have predicted at the start of the season last season the likes of Munoz getting the points he was going to get. It wasn't talked about by anybody. So those players will emerge. In the meantime, centre backs for your DEFCON, it's much more predictable. Makes a lot more sense for game week 1 for me.
Okay. Right. Oh, sorry. Oh, God. Right. Okay. Here we go. Next, let's move on from DEFCON. We will come back to it when we get some questions.
Yeah.
And here's a good comment. There we go. All my defenders are 4 million. That would be an interesting looking team. I'd like to see that one. Okay, so yeah, assists they slightly adjusted. Wanted to just touch on this because this will have definitely come up in the WhatsApp group throughout the season. I think these are good changes. It's the deflection on the cross where they used to say that wasn't the intended target, where it was ridiculous. Of course, that was the intended target. It's just a deflection. So whenever there's a deflection now, one deflection, there is an assist given. That's inside the penalty box. If it's outside the penalty box, I think it stays the same.
Or if the ball leaves the penalty box as well.
Exactly, yeah. So so 41 additional assists from last season. I think it's that last line I wanted to chat to you about. Like, you know, is that something that's going to change the game? You know, that does seem a reasonably large number.
Feels big. I don't think it's
I
anything.
suppose it's one a week, isn't it?
Yeah. There's nothing we can take into account. I don't think it just means, players and managers are being properly rewarded.
Yeah, I think it's
and,
fairer. It's definitely fair. I mean,
more from it, and they'll become more popular, and that makes sense. But
yeah, and we've had over the years plenty of these assists not go for us, and it's frustrating, and there's no need for it. Just give us the points. The game is all about points. Make as many ways as possible within reason to give us, and don't take them away for no reason. So yeah, okay. So we've also got some additional chips bakes. They've given us basically like a set of chips for the first half of the season up to game week 19, and then a set of chips for the second half of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we should also say we've also lost a chip, which I think we've all celebrating wildly.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
That was probably the first thing Mark Stubbins did when he took over FPL Town, was ditching this nonsense. I don't know. Great. Adds more fun, adds more interest. Casual players get more chips to play with. I think that's fine. For people who plan more, we've got more things to plan with. I think, why not? Make it more fun, make it more interesting. I'm all for it.
Okay. I know we've got a couple of questions that are going to come back about this, so we'll definitely come back on this. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, it's definitely something to attract, keep people engaged in the game, which is something they're really keen on, the organisers. And this does that. You're going to be able to spunk all your chips in 5 or 6 weeks at the beginning, and then you have only got to wait a couple of months and you can do it all again. And I do think it will be popular for people to go early. And that's perhaps when we're going to talk about in a bit when we come back to this. It
also just to go back to it, adds a little bit more interest to that first half of the season, because everyone saves their chips up for the second half of the season, and for good reason. It just adds a little bit more interest in that first.
Yeah, half. I mean, there's some strategy now for the first half of the season in terms of how we use them, but a lot of the hardcore would have just gone, we just disregarded them until after Christmas. Okay. So bonus points have slightly been adjusted. This is minimal stuff, really. Yeah. But it might make a difference throughout the season. And they're just trying to adjust the defensive stuff, because I think last season it was just a bit they'd gone too far with the -4 per goal. So what they're doing is giving extra BPS if goalkeepers are making saves inside the box, which I really like. So it's like the quality of the shot makes a difference. And things like goal line clearances are worth more, which absolutely they should be, because that's as good as a goal, isn't it? Yeah. And successful tackles, there aren't that many of those in a game, actually, as many as you think. So that's fine that they've adjusted that, and the penalty stuff they've adjusted as well, because that was a bit ridiculous as well. If you had a forward that was taking penalties, they were taking getting massive advantage of that. Any thoughts there?
No, I mean it'll give a few more bonus points back to defenders and goalkeepers, which they had been taken away last season. I doubt whether much of this will make much difference to the way we pick our teams. It looks better, looks fairer, but I think this is, compared to some of the other stuff they're doing, this is kind of fiddling around the edges.
Great. Okay, I totally agree. And this is AFCON transfers again, not really going to make a difference. It's the same for everyone. It's a bit of a weird one. They're giving us 5 transfers when AFCON starts, because most of us are going to own Salah. They could have just given us 1 to get rid of Salah, surely.
I don't think they needed to do this at all. I don't think it's hard to plan for. I think the casuals who kind of dip in and dip out of the game, by this point, they've probably got 5 transfers anyway, because they haven't looked at their team for a few weeks and have got 5 transfers. So I suppose that's a
good thing. Like, they're not getting any extra transfers, those people. But it does feel a little bit like, people who have forgotten to play for a bit, we'll give you some extra transfers. But I don't know.
It's like another wild card, to be honest.
It is a bit. I mean, and we're going to have to start discussing strategies around that nearer the time, because there's going to be some interesting things. Do you just use them? Do you sort of wait and use them? Do you save them up and
I see doing a bench boost after this as a good, potentially good strategy, because by this point your team's going to have a higher value. Make your transfers and then bench boost after that. we can come back to that.
Okay, we will touch on some of those changes again when we get to the Q&A, but I'm conscious of time. So we've got some changes here at FFUK in the league as well this season. So firstly, thank you everyone who's watching for joining the league so far or for rejoining. We've got a couple of new prizes this season because we know that people like prizes, and we've got a one that's called "How Much Can You FFUK Bench," which is exactly what it sounds. Your bench score, and you have to submit this to us, and it's from any game week that you don't use your bench boost. So those 2 weeks a season you're using your bench boost, you can't use it. But and you can put any players on your bench that you want. And we will take your bench score for that week, for that game week. And the top one at the end of the season wins. I can't remember what it was now. Probably £50, but I'll confirm that in the prize announcement. So yeah, that's the first one. Bakes. Any thoughts on that one?
No, I mean, I'm not going to play for it, but if I happen to have a big bench score one week, I might,
Well, that's it.
Might be a useful little.
Is the winner going to be someone who plans for it, or is the winner going to be someone who just gets one of those weeks where you get a ridiculous bench score and you think, well, at least I can enter it for this prize? And that was kind of the idea. It was just gives another route to points to prizes at the end of the season for other people, perhaps who are right at the top of the league. And on that, we've also got a best team name. Pete and I decided we are going to give entry free next season to the best team name during the international break. So Pete and I will be deciding that one and announcing it. But yeah, that one's just a bit of fun, really. We've also got a new head-to-head division, our fifth head-to-head division, which is going to be called the Conference. There is just 3 spaces left at the time of recording. So if you want one of those, get in touch and you can have it. But when they're gone, and we will not be having any more divisions this season. So that's quite exciting. 5 divisions of head-to-head, Bakes.
Yeah, great. I mean, I enter the head-to-head league every year. I think it's a great little side game to be involved in. Would recommend to anyone. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Right, next one. We're going to do a couple of these hopefully this season, and they're sort of London-based meetups for any FFUKers who are in the London area or who can get to to London that day. And the first one is Game Week 3, Saturday, 23rd of August, at the Charlotte Pub, SE1. And I think the games that day are Man City Spurs, the lunchtime game, and then Arsenal Leeds, the evening game. So tasty couple of games for us. And the idea will just be meet up, watch the games, have some food, have a few drinks, and chat probably about FPL most of the time. So yeah, if you'd like to come and join us, that would be great. We'd love to see you there. Just RSVP in the WhatsApp group. Next up, we have a Dream Team mini league for anyone who plays Dream Team. That's quite a cool, different format. Details on the website if you need it. And we're also going to do a new thing this season where we do on Friday nights when there's a Saturday deadline. We're going to do Friday night surgeries where basically we do a video call and we get me and a few others on there. And the idea is you drop in, you show your team, and you say your issue that week, what you're thinking of doing, or what moves you're thinking of making, or who you're thinking of captaining, or whatever the decision is you've got to make. And the people on the call will all give you their advice. Obviously, no terms and conditions will be you're responsible for your own moves at the end of that, but that's going to be quite a fun thing. We'll try and do that a couple of times during the season as well, when Friday nights allow it. And then there's just a couple of housekeeping notes. Keep up to date this season by following the website. You can actually follow it or subscribe to it so you get updated every time we post something on there. So would recommend you do that. And there are a handful of spaces, about 8, I think, at that time last when I looked, in the Cons League, which is one of our other side games. So only 7 or 8 spaces left in that one. So, and when they're gone, they are gone. So, okay, we are going to move on to a bit of a chat about Salah versus Haaland. This one has been kind of brewing in the group a little bit. We've been talking about it a little bit. It's definitely one of our key decisions when it comes to how we set up our team. And I know people would love to hear your thoughts on it, Bakes. And I'm going to just show a little poll that we did earlier in the WhatsApp group while we get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first decision a manager makes this season when you're picking your team, because I think it just informs every other decision that you make. I'm astonished there are 7 people going with neither. That feels like madness.
Out of 40, yeah,
I know it's a big percentage. I'm going Salah. I've only got Salah. I think in terms of a balanced team, having both, I feel like I'm making too many compromises. I think in a choice between Salah and Haaland, for me, there's only one choice, and predominantly only one choice, actually, because of the way that I play. I'll always go with the more popular pick, because for me, in the way I play, that makes more sense. So the poll just solidifies that for me. I don't see how you can go without Salah, given what happened last season. I think that'd be madness, and obviously we need to be, mindful and flexible about changing if we need to in the first couple of weeks if Haaland starts going mad, which we know he is capable of doing. But for me, it can only be one, and that one for me is Salah. How about you, Chris? Where are you at?
Well, you can see on there.
Box tells us, right?
I'm trying. That's why I've got you on, Bakes, to ask these DEFCON points, these TEFCON questions, because I need some cheap players. Because I'm going at the moment. I'm going Salah and Haaland. Yeah. I'll try and fight my corner, I suppose. So, I mean, I agree with you on everything you said about Salah. He starts strong every season, pretty much. He just come off a record points total. He does taper off towards the end of seasons, I think. But at the start, there's no doubting he is the absolute don, the best FPL player ever by a distance.
Yeah,
and he's still, I think, maybe not at the peak of his powers, but I don't think he's too far off it that it's a worry. So Salah is fine. I think he's not a must-have or an essential or anything like that, because everyone should play their own game and do what you believe in. But for me, yeah, he's in there. And then it's like, can I get Haaland with him? So that was my first, what I was trying to look at. And the reason I want Haaland is because I think City are a bit of a wounded animal. And I think their fixtures are good, reasonable, opening up. I think fixtures sometimes don't matter to Haaland in particular. And City are, I mean, we've almost written off City after last season. I think it's because we don't know any fans, so there's no kind of animosity or sort of tribalism towards City or against City. So they're a funny one, really. They've spent an absolute fortune on top quality players, and are primed to go. They might not be favourites for the title, but I think if you finish above City next season, you probably win the league. And Haaland is actually quite an unusual City player, and he's the only nailed attacker in the City squad. He's on pens. He plays 90 minutes pretty much when he's fit. And he just came off his worst ever season, and he scored 22 goals. And that's where I'm at with it. And also, I think Salah and Haaland are nicely rested. They've not had the. I mean, there was the Club World Cup, but City came back early enough that I think that's not going to affect them too much. And I think he's motivated to go again. I think that all the City players are out to prove something. So I'm going to try and get them both in. It's all about, can you fit them in, isn't it? Because that's the other thing. So here's the fixtures: first 6 by overall difficulty, and I mean, City actually aren't as high there as I'd think. They're sort of seventh or 8th on that list. I think that's because of this. I guess that's because they've got Spurs, Man United, and Arsenal. But I would argue that Spurs and Man United are good fixtures for City. Just
a quick one, just to shout out. I'm just having a quick look at the comments, and Twill, the guy by the handler Twill Media's with you. He's got both for me as well. So I think Salah and Haaland. I think that as we get closer to game week 1, I think that'll become more popular.
Yeah, I think it might.
I can't go without Haaland. I've got to get it in.
I think some of those 7 who are saying no Salah, no Haaland will also revert to at least having one of them. But if you do just have one of them, your team looks a lot nicer, a lot more balanced. There's a lot of reasons that one is the answer. So it just quickly on fixtures then, Bakes. Any teams there that you want to target, or you don't want to target, or you want to avoid?
I'm avoiding a lot of the ones down the bottom. So I'm avoiding Arsenal. Avoiding Arsenal, avoiding Man United, avoiding Newcastle. Their fixtures will get better, and then their players will become choices. I'm much more interested in going with the likes of Chelsea and Villa, obviously Liverpool because it's Liverpool.
Yeah.
I keep putting Man City players in and then taking them out again because the minutes just aren't guaranteed, but they've got good fixtures, so we've really got to be looking at them. And then you've got the likes of Forest, who've got good fixtures. Having a Forest defender is absolutely essential as far as I'm concerned. Those are probably the main ones that jump out. I'd suggest people looking at these fixture tickers, shifted across 1 week. What does it look like from game week 2? Because it does change. And the one that changed both is Bournemouth.
Bournemouth is a great example there.
It's worth thinking about. Do you want to get a Bournemouth player in? I currently have one. Stick them on your bench, ready for game week 2 when their fixtures suddenly, because they haven't got Liverpool, look really good.
Yeah, totally, really good advice. Okay, conscious of time, but we said we'd do some questions, so let's do some questions. Thanks for everyone who sent them in. I think this has worked pretty well. Okay, Bake's going to come to you first. Do you believe Bowen will have a good season? Will he be the main man up front? It's 2 different questions, I guess.
It's kind of connected. He's our talisman. Yes, I think he'll have a great season. He has a great season every season. I'm biased. Obviously, I'm a West Ham fan. I think he's brilliant. I'm amazed he's still playing for West Ham, quite frankly. Potter plays a 3-5-2 formation. That's his preferred formation. So Bowen's one of 2 central players. I think that suits him. I think it needs more FPL points rather than fewer than when he's been playing out on the right. Him and Füllkrug as a 2 up front, that sounds mouth-watering to me. Füllkrug can stay fit. I think that would be a brilliant combination. And then I think with Wan-Bissaka and Diouf as the attacking wing-backs, I think you've got 2 more strong FPL potential picks there, both at 4.5. So I think there's definitely, while I'm always reticent about West Ham chances in general, I think all 4 of those players actually should be, ones that FPL managers are looking at.
Sorry, which West Ham players have you got in your team to start with?
I've got Bowen and Wan-Bissaka at the moment.
A double.
2 West Ham players.
That can't happen many times.
What am I doing? What am I thinking?
Still time to go. And the same. I think it was Damo who sent these. I can't remember, but I've been asked a couple of Chelsea-related questions. So will Cole play every week? The answer to that is, to start with, I think so. We've just bought Hato in from Ajax, who is a left-sided defender and can play in his position. But I think he's just covered to start with. But he's very highly regarded. Obviously, if he comes in and does really well, then there's going to be pressure on Colwell. But Colwell had a good season, especially the end of last season, and had a good Club World Cup. So no reason why him and Cucurella wouldn't start the season.
But of those 2, would you go Cucurella for the?
Yeah, I don't think Colwell is a DEFCON player. Colwell, sort of, when I watch him, Cucurella could be, because he's always on the move, rushing into places and hoovering up balls and stuff. So I don't think either of them probably are there for that reason, but they're both nailed. Cucurella, you're getting attacking returns as well, but you're paying the premium for that. I don't know how many clean sheets we're going to get early on, because I don't know how we're going to start. That's my big thing. And the follow-up question I've got there is, are Chelsea defenders worth it, or just Sanchez and save the money? I think Sanchez, is a good option at his price. He just comes in a little bit cheaper than most of the Chelsea defenders. And he's going to start the season. And I don't think we're going to buy a new keeper. And he finished the season well and had a good summer as well. So, I think Sanchez is a reasonable pick. Okay, next question. And this is DEFCON stuff. So we kind of covered it already, but how much is the new DEFCON points factored into your thought process and team selection? Considering 4 or 5 at the back, traditionally more defensive mids such as Rodri. I think we've covered a lot of this. And then linked to this, what your overall thoughts on the changes to FPL this season? So maybe just, are you overarching, you're pretty happy with where the game's going?
I think the AFCON stuff was unnecessary, but they've done it. Generally, I think the change is good. In terms of DEFCON, it is. It definitely informing choices, particularly for defenders. I'm personally going to still go with a 3-4-3. Maybe because, I don't know, because quite inflexible. Maybe that's a problem there that I need to consider in terms of my start. 3-4-3, suited me very well for many years. I see no reason to go against that. But those, of the defenders that I'm picking, and I'm looking at my team right now, 4 out of the 5 I've picked with DEFCON in mind.
Okay,
there'll probably be that many.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. So, next question is about bench boost. Bench boost in game week 1. It's been mentioned. People have talked about it. It's definitely a thing. What's your view on it?
Instinctively, I don't like it.
Yeah, I think I'm there too. But so why are other content creators and other sort of hardcore fantasy players, why are they considering it and we're not?
Well, people have been talking about it for years as a strategy and nobody's ever done it. Now that we've got 2 of them, people can think, oh yeah, now I'm going to do it. And I think the idea is that you've got unlimited transfers prior to game week 1. So you can set up your team however you like. You could absolutely just throw the kitchen sink at game week 1, bench boost, brilliant. But there's loads of problems. Number one, we don't know who's going to start. We've got no information at all. We got some, I mean, we can make very strong guesses, but we've got no real information about teams' starting lineups. So there's uncertainty. Secondly, you've got to pick 2 starting goalkeepers, and I don't think many people like doing that. I think most managers like having just one set and forget goalkeeper, a 4.0 who probably doesn't play. Minimize your spend on keepers and then deal with that. Maybe further down the track, maybe add in a second playing goalkeeper. Forces you into picking a second playing goalkeeper, which I don't want to do really. And thirdly, the other thing that I don't think has been mentioned very much, but certainly in my thoughts, is that the price of our teams is at its lowest at this point. Come towards game weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, when we can still use this bench boost, the price of our teams is going to be much higher. We can have a better team at that point. And surely it's going to make more sense, or in my thinking anyway, to use a bench boost then, because we should be able to get more points out of it. So that's kind of loads of reasons why I just...
Okay. So when you say later date, do you mean not in the first 6 game weeks, or are you not? Would you be open to it?
I'm thinking post AFCON.
Right. Okay. Really late.
Transfers to renovate the team, and then do the bench boost.
But what about your triple captain and your free? What about the other chips? The triple captain, the free hit. My counter argument to what you just said is everyone else is going to be using them. So it's like it's fine if everyone else fails and you keep yours, and then you go flying past everyone in 12 weeks time or whatever. But the chances are some people are going to have a really good result from this, and it's
100%.
How do we keep up with all those people spunking 5 chips in the first 6 weeks, 7 weeks, or 4 chips?
I guess we don't.
No.
And how we handle that as FPL managers will be, it becomes an additional challenge we're going to have to face. I think a lot of people who bench boost game week 1 will suddenly look at their teams in game weeks 2 and 3 and go, uh-oh, this team isn't very good. I now need to either free hit or play a wild card. So I think it does force other chips being used by doing that bench boost early. So again, another reason why it's not for me.
Okay, I'm gonna one last question. I'm gonna wrap it up after that. It's quite a good one. Any regrets from last season? Or what's one regret from last season for you? And then I'll give mine, and then we'll call it a day.
Sure. I saw this question earlier, and I've been giving it a bit of thought, and I don't think there's anything specific. That
you did well. You finished what, second? Or was
I came second in FFUK.
Yeah. So, okay. So what were you going to do next season to finish first?
So I think, as I was considering this question, the thing that sprung to mind was that I just want to be a little bit more mindful about the transfers that I make. Sometimes I'm just making transfers. It feels like I'm making transfers almost for the sake of it. I've got a transfer, got to play a transfer. And the amount of times when you don't make a transfer and you're better off as a result. Sometimes doing nothing's better than doing something, and just to be mindful of that.
Yeah, and I think with the introduction of the transfers being rolled over last season, I found it so hard every week to ever get to the point I wanted to get. I mean, obviously you want to get to 5 free transfers and then do 1 a week and just be like, that feels like dreamland. And obviously some people managed it, but I always, exactly. I got to 2 or 3. I think I got to 4 at one point, But that was like part of a plan, and yeah, it's really hard. I mean, from my side, my big regret last season was I used my bench boost and I got 9 points, and that's the worst I've ever done with that chip. So I've got two goes at it this season. I don't want to be getting 9 points with either of them. I'd like to get kind of 16 with one, and then maybe a nice juicy score with the second one. So that's my aim for this season. But I think we'll call it there. It's been 45 minutes.
Can I just say that there's one question just come in on the chat here, so maybe we'll just very quickly take that.
Please do.
Yeah. So I'll pose it to you. Yeah, there it is. Which of the promoted sides, Chris, do you think will do best defensively?
Okay. Well, so Burnley is the kind of, if you the stats, I think the stats answer, because Burnley had the best defense last season. But I think as soon as you look into it, Burnley's defence last season was massively helped by Trafford, who has left.
And the opposite true for Leeds, that were negatively helped by Meslier and goal.
Exactly. Leeds had the opposite effect with Meslier. So I think I quite like the business, some of the business that Leeds have done. I think they bought some big kind of physical players because they kind of believe that that's the way to stay in the league. Kind of similar to what Brentford did. Brentford had a very physical, big, good set piece team when they came up. So Leeds are sort of sleeping giant as well. I mean, as soon as they get any kind of momentum, they've got such a good big fan base. You know, I think they would be my pick. But it's so hard because we've just seen the three sides do so badly defensively, and last season was all about targeting those three teams. So even the best defensively, but the DEFCON points change everything. I think.
Well, there are two different questions there, aren't they? Which teams will do best defensively, but which player from which of the teams will do best for us for FPL? It's not necessarily the same answer.
Exactly, and is Estev a pick? Is Rodon a pick? That's the thing, isn't it? One of those I think probably will be or could be, but it's picking the right one. But yeah, really good question, and I think one that definitely to come back to throughout the season, because you know sometimes the promoted teams actually start okay first couple of games because they've got all that adrenaline. There's nothing expected of them. Actually, it's once it kicks in the Premier League, the frenetic nature of it that they start to struggle. But yeah, sorry, I was gonna wrap up by saying thank you, Bakes, for joining me. Really appreciate your time and your views as always, and thanks everyone for watching. And obviously, just if you haven't joined the league, which you should have done by now, if you're watching this, then make sure you do. We talked about the comps, we talked about the head-to-head. Get your money in, and looking forward to the first game week. We're hopefully going to do another video. That's the other thing. A team reveal next week. Not sure who'll be on that yet. Whoever's brave enough to show their teams, probably. Thank you, Bakes, for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
See you all soon. Thanks.